So, what's your deal?
My deal? I'm just a regular guy with a regular job, but I've got this condition where I don't feel pain.
Hey, there we go.
Oh my god, you're a superhero.
No.
Can you feel this?
Definitely feeling something. Last night was amazing.
Get on the ground! Open the vault! Cops are here early! We need a hostage. Let's go!
Oh my God, what am I doing?
Novocaine. All right, so we have a movie where we have an action movie where we have a guy who has a condition where he can't feel pain. Okay, that's action and hilarity ensue. So, so I heard about this movie, and I was like, you know what? I really think, you know, Jack Quaid is he's really becoming like a really like, I mean, he's a really good actor, but he's definitely branching out into doing other things. Like, you know, like The Boys, you have like superhero type stuff, dark and just graphic type stuff. But he also was in Oppenheimer for a bit part. He's also in Companion, which is so far still my favorite film of the year. And now, Scream 5. So he's been really doing this like juggling act between, do I do like, you know, like an action stuff? Do I do superhero stuff? Should I do a horror thing? Then should I do more funny, like dark funny? And now with this, it is an action funny. So he's really kind of like doing like this juggling act and like he's doing a really good job with it. But he plays a guy who is the assistant manager of a bank, and he has a condition where he cannot feel pain. But he hasn't told anybody that because, you know, they don't want him to think that, you know, he's, you know, a freak or anything like that. But one day he meets a employee at the bank who is played by Amber Midthunder, who they start to have like a relationship. Then the bank gets robbed by a couple of people, and she gets taken hostage. And instead of saying, you know what, this is the first time like I've actually, you know, someone has cared about me despite my condition. So, you know, he even says, it's even in the trailer and in the movie, you know, he says like, would you wait for someone to do a job for you, or would you do it yourself? And, you know, have your way. And it's like, you know, he makes a good point. And that's kind of what I like about like these like revenge type movies, is that you have the police who are always saying like, yeah, let us handle this. But, you know, through the eyes of the police, what they see is you being, you know, reckless, of course. But through your eyes, you see them not really doing a whole lot, or being very slow with their investigation or with their progress, when you yourself know, hey, I can be 10 steps ahead of them. So I like that. I liked that aspect to him, because he's not, that's something I liked about his character. He's not an action guy at all. He's very much an everyday man. He just has this one thing about him that makes him different, but he uses to his benefit. And that's great. I think Jack Quaid does a really good job playing him. It almost seems like he's having just a really bad day in this movie. And it's like, yeah, that's definitely gonna hurt. They do set it in a bit of realism, which is nice to see. Comparing something to like John Wick, where I would say starting with 3 and in 4, there were parts in those where I was like, okay, with 1 and 2, I'm like, yeah, you be hurt pretty bad, but I see you walk away. But with 3 and 4, I'm like, no, you'd be dead. I'm sorry, you'd be dead. So with this, it was kind of like, well, I don't know how this works. People who have this condition, I don't know how this would work. But there were parts in there where I'm like, yeah, I don't know about that. But, it's a movie. I think the chemistry between Jack Quaid and Amber Midthunder works quite well. I think she's very good in this, but, I really enjoyed her in Prey. You also have Jack Nicholson's son in this, Ray, who the only other movie I've seen thus far with him in it was Smile 2, and man, does he have, like, the smile of his father. He really does. And I'm just like, oh, it's Jack Nicholson. No, wait, no, it's a younger version of him. So he's also coming on the rise too. Like, he did, like, Smile 2. He's in this, and then did a movie with Samara Weaving. I can't remember what it was called. I think Borderline, which I've heard is pretty good. So he's on the rise too, and he's pretty good in this. He's the leader of the thieves, of the criminals, and he does a really good job. Now, the movie is very gory. It was actually a lot gorier and a lot more graphic than I thought it was going to be. It makes John Wick look like a Pixar film at times. So, yeah. And in fact, my theater experience was a bit strange because there were a group of like teenage girls sitting near me, and every time when something graphic happened, they would go like, oh, like, like they would be in shock and awe. And I'm like, yeah, that was actually a lot gorier than I thought. But then when the movie was over, I then am leaving, and I noticed there's like these 4 or 5 elderly women coming out of the theater. And I'm like, did you guys just watch that? I'm like, what were you guys doing in this one? And they were just like, boy, that was really graphic. And I'm like, because I don't think you knew what you were watching. But that's besides the point. The action in here, while it's cool, it's very heavily cut in some areas. Not terrible, but I would prefer the action a little bit better. It's not like on the level of like John Wick, where you can clearly tell it's Keanu doing it. It's not on that level. It's very much like they're trying to hide stunt doubles at times. But the action is still no like Paul Greengrass with the Bourne films, where it's like so fast and it's like so shaky you almost get sick from it. It's this one, it's like, okay, there's a lot of like different cuts, but you can still tell the action. You can still tell what's going on. So the action is done pretty well. And the editing, while I would have preferred like, it not be so heavily cut in certain spots, it still works. So it's very kind of like minor flaw. Overall, I had a lot more fun than I originally thought it was going to. From the looks of it, this looked like I was going to be like, you know what? If it's not going to be that good, at least I would like for it to be fun. And this reminded me of like a combination of like Nobody and Baby Driver, where, Nobody, it was, almost like wrong place, wrong time, but it was just kind of like you kind of mess with the wrong person. And then just it mainly all like the gore from that one, because Nobody is pretty graphic at times. But with Baby Driver, with that film, it was, you have this guy who has a disability, and he uses that to his benefit, and it works quite well. So it felt very like combination of the two, which I really liked. A lot of the comedy comes from the brutality and the goreness of the movie. So if you don't really find that kind of stuff funny, then you probably won't laugh at this. I can definitely see a lot of people like flinching or this being a hard watch for some. And, you know, like I said, a lot of that has to come to the gore because, like I said, it was a lot more graphic than I thought. It was like, oh, man. Wow. Okay. And I'm like, I don't know a lot about the condition to say anything, but I'm like, I think if you even have this condition, I have a feeling you would feel that. Like, you would feel that. And so, yeah, I don't know. Overall, from the performances to the execution to the violence, the movie still does a really good job with its concept that either way, it could have been something where it was like, oh man, you had a missed opportunity and you just completely fumbled the ball with it. But in this case, it doesn't, and I'm very glad it didn't. And this takes place during Christmas season, so you have a new Christmas movie to watch. So I think if you're gonna watch like something like Die Hard for Christmas, and you want to keep up with that action kind of thing, try this one. You know, I'd say try this one. Overall, I give this one maybe a low grade. Do I see myself rewatching this anytime soon? Currently, at the moment, not necessarily, but this would be a movie where I'm like, I'd be talking with friends, and I would say like, hey, have you guys seen this? And they say no. I'm like, guys, you gotta watch this, and rewatch it then. But currently, at the moment, I don't have the urge to go and rewatch this, but I still had a fun time watching it, and I definitely recommend it, unless you can't handle a lot of gore.
What happened to your face?
You should see the other guy.
Tell me everything you know.
What's his name?
You gotta be careful, dude. You can still die. You're not Wolverine. You understand pain?
Oh, no, stop it. Oh! Wow, that hurt. That one hurt the most.